Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Palatella Field, home of the Sacred Heart Prep Gators. Today's matchup features the number 1 seed, Sacred Heart Prep Gators, versus the number 2 seed, St. Ignatius Wildcats, for the WCAL Championship. This is Greg Weigel, and I welcome into the booth with me today, Carlos Trujillo.
Thank you for having me, Greg. I appreciate being here, and thanks to Sacred Heart for allowing me to be part of this great championship game.
Yeah, it really should be a lot of fun. Two great teams, an unbelievable matchup in the first round matchup earlier this spring, with Sacred Heart losing in a nail-biter by 1 in overtime. I look to see a similarly tight game again here. Two really quality teams. A couple interesting storylines to follow here today. The first one being the brothers.
That's right, Greg.
Yeah, 2 sets of really good brothers on each team. A couple different sets of brothers, but the ones we're going to be looking out for are the Blyes of St. Ignatius, that's junior Topher Bly, sophomore Wells Bly, and the Barnes brothers of Sacred Heart Prep, junior Tommy and freshman Billy Barnes.
It should be exciting at both ends of the field with those brothers. They account for a significant amount of each team's offense, and if each team is going to win today, those boys will play a key part.
Another area we're going to be keeping our eye on is in the nets. Senior Mac Gates for St. Ignatius and junior Cody Weeb were both incredible in the previous matchup, 2 of the best goalies in the area.
And both of them had to be. Both of them had tough semifinal matchups, and those goalies had to stand tall to get their teams here today. This should be exciting. I think both of these teams expect to win this game. I think they expected to be here at the beginning of the season, and both of them feel like they've earned this championship. We'll see who comes out and gets it today.
Starting out on the face-off X for Sacred Heart Junior, number 16, Joey Dalkemper, and junior, number 1, Lance Sell for St. Ignatius.
Beautiful day here today. Couldn't have asked for better weather for this championship game.
And we're off. Dalkemper wins the clamp backwards to himself and controls the ground ball easily. St. Ignatius drops into the ride. Ball comes back to freshman John Carter. Over to the other side to William Peterson. A little bit of trouble handling the ball. Now he's got it. Sacred Heart Prep continues to take their time. Look to get the ball to a short stick, which they're able to do to sophomore Wilson Weisel. Over the top to John Carter. John Carter covered by a long stick. Kyle Edelman. Carter's able to elude him. He has not gotten a touch yet. Let's see if Sacred Heart can get it in before the countdown, and they do.
That was tight. SI's a good riding team. If they can continue to put that kind of pressure on Sacred Heart Prep today, they might come up with some opportunities in the unsettled game.
Yeah, how Sacred Heart is able to deal with St. Ignatius' pressure all day.
Oh,
it would be a good opportunity for Wilson Weisel.
It was. He's got to tuck that thing away and hide it from the defender.
Yeah, he was able to slip right under Colin Niehaus. Niehaus was able to get him with the trail check, though. And here's Edelman pushing it in transition. Nice check by John Carter to put that thing on the carpet. Here's Weisel coming out of the pack with the ground ball, flicks it back into the goal to Wiebe.
Nice play by Weisel. A little bit of nerves maybe at the beginning of this game. A lot of drop balls for these two teams.
Let's see if Sacred Heart can settle things up. This is junior Larry Hart, gets a touch in the box. Sacred Heart's going to look to get their personnel on. Here comes one of those brothers we talked about earlier. That's freshman Billy Barnes, number 4. His older brother Tommy was already on the field, number 7. He's playing attack today. He'll see time at both attack and midfield, depending on the scenario for Sacred Heart.
Yep. SI continuing to put a lot of pressure on the ball here. They're noted for that throughout the season, and doesn't look like they're going to lay back here against Sacred Heart Prep today.
No, high pressure and early slide. No slide there.
No slide.
Freshman Billy Barnes.
You called it, Greg. The Barnes brothers already having an impact.
A beautiful dodge and re-dodge. Gets underneath of the defender. We talked about the early slides. That time St. Ignatius elected not to slide, and Barnes makes them pay.
Well, really on both of those first two opportunities, the one that Weisel dropped on the first possession, we didn't get a slide there from St. Ignatius either. They've either got to figure out a way to match up against those midfielders a little bit better or get some help, or it's going to be a long day down there for that SI defense.
Here we go, back to the face-off X. Sell against Dalkemper again. Dalkemper was able to control it cleanly on the first Looks like Dalkemper had it cleanly again, just wasn't able to come out with it.
Let's look at the Sacred Heart Prep ride here.
Here's senior Gillifan pushing the ball up.
Good ride.
Turnover. That's junior Carter McCullough drops that one. Jack Crockett, senior Jack Crockett, we talked about him in the last broadcast. The senior's going to Princeton next year, has led the Gators for 3 consecutive years in scoring, has been out for the second half of the season, came back in, and was very productive in their semifinal win against Bellarmine.
Here we go again. Let's see if they're going to defend this a little bit differently.
A little bit of a show there by Bo Sidwell, but he got back without going. Interesting. They were going incredibly early in the first matchup.
They were.
Here's Barnes underneath again, and a
Great
great
save
save by Matt Gates.
Another opportunity again where it doesn't look like SI is going to be helping their players up top in the perimeter.
Well, Matt Gates has been a 4-year starter at St. Ignatius and multi-time All-American already. I expect he'll be certainly in that conversation again in Northern California this year.
Absolutely.
And it looks like Coach Chris Packard is electing to trust his goalie and give up some low-angle shots without opening up the defense by sliding.
We get a slide there.
Joe Sonsini, the junior, showing some of that explosive quickness he has. Now this is junior Tommy Barnes behind the goal. Looks to get a pick from senior Teddy Vaught. Defended by sophomore midfielder Joey.
Another good one, but they can't keep giving up shots inside like that.
Senior John Carroll throws the ball over the top to Larry Hart. Larry to Hart sets up a dodge. Now he backs it out.
He's got the freshman there on defense, I think.
No, that's junior midfielder Mark Stevens.
I stand corrected.
Is a Harvard commit. He's one of the strongest players on this St. Ignatius team. Really strong two-way midfielder. Plays great defense, great ground balls, unbelievable in transition, and a really strong dodger and shooter.
Let's see if SI can manage to get this ball over the midfield this time.
And here's Stevens again. Boy, he's just cruising over the midfield. And now really for the first time we'll see St. Ignatius on offense. I tell you, Carlos, that's a long time to have played defense to start a game. Almost 4.5 straight minutes for Sacred Heart.
It is. We'll see if SI can give their defense a chance to rest here and give them an opportunity to gather themselves and be ready to play again.
Junior midfielder Topher Bly immediately answers the call.
And rest is not an option for the SI defense. They've got to hope they win this face-off. If Sacred Heart Prep brings it down against a tired defense again, I think we may see them having a little bit of trouble. It's great to get a goal and get on the board, but if the Sacred Heart Prep offense comes down, you'd be in trouble.
Let's see what Dalkemper can do here on the face-offs. He's won one cleanly back, another one fairly cleanly forward, but just was unable to control the ground ball.
Giving him a little bit of the business.
Junior Joe Sonsini's able to come up with the ball. Looks like he took a check on the face mask. No call. Maintains possession. Calms things down by getting the ball up top to Weisel.
Great tough ground ball. We'll see if they pay for that quick offensive series at the other end.
Yeah, Weisel's covered out on the left wing by Niehaus again. That was that initial first possession dodge. Let's see if Sacred Heart Prep goes back to that. And here it is, Weisel on Niehaus.
The slide showed early there. I don't think they're going to make that mistake again.
It looked like they were really looking to get the ball to Barnes on the backside off of some action through X. They were able to do it, but St. Ignatius covered it well.
Absolutely.
Here's a good matchup. Crockett on a short stick, something you would really like to see at Sacred Heart Prep. I'm not sure if that's good enough today, Carlos, on either of these goalies.
No, I don't think so, especially if you're going to drop your hands. He was halfway down before the shot was taken, and a save at the other end.
Yeah, both of these goalies are too good for those shots, Carlos. These guys are going to have to get the ball inside at 10 to 12 yards. Both of those were deeper than that. And here's a look inside.
There's a big one.
And Matt Gates already with 3 big saves.
Absolutely. He is looking good early. But again, St. Ignatius did not play what was a relatively standard 4-on-3 fast break very well.
Well, I'd say sophomore defenseman Alex Bean actually threw a really beautiful skip pass, but to your point, he was on the same side as the attack had set up. Really no reason that guy should have been that open on the backside.
No, and the 3 defenders were completely flat. I think the near player thought he had to go to the ball, but he had 2 other defenders on the other side.
Some really physical play here. That's senior defenseman Connor Reed.
Wow.
Freshman Barnes with another great look.
Both teams distracted by that play, and a Sacred Heart player found himself open on the backside, wide open. Lucky for another great save by the St. Ignatius goaltender.
Well, it really seems like the officials have swallowed their whistles so far for the first 7 or so minutes here of this game. And I thought Sonsini got hit in the head earlier, and then that play on the pick looked to be some sort of maybe potentially unnecessary roughness.
That was the first big one I've seen, but as a defenseman, you know how I feel about it. Let him play ball.
Yeah. Here's Billy Barnes, covered by Kyle Edelman, throws over to Tommy Barnes. Tommy initiates from the top wing, gets into the middle, draws a slide, rolls back, puts it into the left, and another great save by Gates.
Absolutely.
That's 5 already in this quarter for Gates.
He is standing tall, but this defense is not known for giving up that many shots like that, especially the quality shots that Sacred Heart's getting. They're going to have to do a better job on defense, or eventually that Sacred Heart offense is going to get to them.
Here's senior midfielder Trevor Williams. Sacred Heart prep. Offsides for a second there and got away with it. Senior Teddy Vaught recognized it very intelligently, got back on. Here's a backhand effort by Williams. And another physical play, that time by freshman Paul Barton.
I think they're going to let him play a little bit, which, as I said, is a good thing. Let the boys decide it on the field.
Here's sophomore Wells Bly at X. Up top. Senior Trevor Williams. Back around to Pollock. Pollock inside. Mark Stevens. Goal.
That was a nice opportunity for them and a well-placed shot.
Both shots, both goals, I should say, so far have come from more or less the same spot. Different plays. First came off of a rollback off of the wing. But that one right there, again, right around 8 yards, inside of the hash marks. Those are really good quality shots.
Yep, and it's interesting. You know, St. Ignatius is extending and giving up some space on the wings. Sacred Heart appears to be playing a little more conservative on defense, and usually you wouldn't expect a player to get that open at 8-8 if you're laying back across the field.
Wow, great
ground ball.
Great play by Larry Hart. Lance Sell, St. Ignatius faceoff guy, had played that one out pretty cleanly to himself, and Hart came in and completely blew that play up.
Winning the draw isn't even half the battle.
That's right. As we talked about on Wednesday, a faceoff is not won until you have possession in your offensive box. Here's Weisel, dodging down the alley. Gets underneath, looks to throw back, decides against it. Throws back up now. Senior John Carroll. John Carroll will pull back out, look to the sideline. Now they shift into, what do we got here, Carlos?
Looks like a little bit of an umbrella set. It's tough to tell.
Yeah, shifting around. It almost looks like a 1-4 for a second. Now they're looking for Barnes on the backside. They got him, and he converts.
Great shot.
Beautiful play.
Against a goaltender that's having a good day, that's exactly where you've got to put him. That off-stick hit in spite of his best effort, there's no way that goaltender's going to have a chance to save that ball from that range against a player like Barnes.
Great shot and a really well-designed play by Coach Chris Rotelli, Sacred Heart. You could see they pulled it out, looked to the sideline, got the call, and Barnes ends up wide open on the backside.
That was true in the semifinal as well. When they put something set piece together, they were pretty successful.
It looks like Sell is starting to control the draw a little bit more than Dahlkemper. Dahlkemper won the face-offs early, and now it's gone the other direction. Total still 3-2 in favor of Sacred Heart.
It looks like maybe Sell made a little adjustment to whatever Sacred Heart was doing, and now they're going to have to come back and do it the other way.
Be interesting to see if Dahlkemper can adjust. He has been great at adjusting so far this year.
Wow.
Another goal there. Number 44, Peyton St. Jem, comes around unassisted and buries it.
No help from Sacred Heart Prep on that one. You know, perhaps I'm too quick to criticize the defenses and not give credit enough to these two spectacular offenses for generating these kind of looks early in the game. I'm sure both coaches will find ways to adjust and work with their defense to close some of those opportunities down.
A little bit more of a high-scoring game than I expected here, Carlos. The last time these guys matched up, it was 7-6 in overtime. We're already at 3-2 with 2 minutes to go in the first quarter.
I think with two coaches of this caliber, they obviously saw something about the other team's defense and scouting and film and through the course of the season that they thought to exploit, and it seems like they're doing that now. So we'll see if these defensive coordinators can tighten things up in this chess match.
Let's Sell out again cleanly. This is senior Henny Tunney with the ground ball. Covered by Dahlkemper. Dahlkemper's able to chase him down from behind. We have a timeout on the field. With that, we'll step away for a second and be right back.
And we're back. We'll see what these two teams show us coming out of the timeout. During the break, Coach Weigel was mentioning he thought Sacred Heart Prep might head into a zone here to protect some of their defenders. We'll see if he's right about Coach Rotelli in this and decides to play zone.
Well, I'm not sure if they'll come out in zone or not. It looks like they may come out and double pull the midfield here. But I guess more what I was getting at, Carlos, was something different. I would expect something to change. And it looks like they're going with a double pull, and those pulls are going to Topher Bly and Mark Stevens, leaving Trevor Williams, the lone midfielder, with a short stick. We'll see if Williams can take advantage of that. He's covered by sophomore Wilson Weisel. Williams throws behind to Wells Bly. Bly through St. Jem. Back up through Stevens, and here we go from Williams. He's set up for a dodge down the alley now.
Good defense. Ooh.
Stevens elects not to shoot
save.
And then pulls it left-handed. Great save by Weeb. Wells Bly up top. Stevens drops it. Is able to track it back down. He'll reinitiate the offense here against sophomore Alex Bean. Bean had a great game against Bellarmine the other day. Several calls, turnovers, pushed the ball well in transition. We already saw another play earlier in the game where he's pushed the ball in transition. He's very dangerous with the ball in his stick. And a creative shot there by Topher Bly.
I think they're looking to take that short stick matchup at X and now attack it. They had that attackman in the crease for a little while, but now it looks like if Sacred Heart's going to play an attackman with a short stick, they're going to try and attack that matchup.
We'll see. I think this is what Sacred Heart Prep would want. John Pollock, really known more as a finisher and an inside player. Here we go, Weisel pushing it in transition. He's going to carry, look to shoot, and Williams gets a nice trail check. Wow, they give the ball to Sacred Heart Prep.
That was a tough one.
I thought Matt Gates was closer.
I thought so too.
So the Gators get lucky. Can they do anything with it? Ball over to Crockett. Wow. Nice pass, nice pick by.
Ooh, that was a little high one too. They are going to let him play a little bit, it looks like.
And here's a timeout.
No, I think that's.
Oh, excuse me, end of the first quarter.
That's right. That was a long first quarter, it felt like.
I did. We have a 3-2 game here. St. Ignatius over the number 1 seed Sacred Heart Prep Gators. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Atherton, California for the start of the second quarter of today's matchup between the Sacred Heart Prep Gators and the St. Ignatius Wildcats. Carlos, what were your impressions of that first quarter?
There was a ton of great offense generated by both teams in that quarter. As you mentioned earlier, we thought this could be a defensive battle based upon the score of the first game, but both teams generated a ton of offense, and as you mentioned prior to the broadcast, had it not been for the great play by both goaltenders, this score could easily be 4 or 5 apiece.
It looks like we have early movement against Sacred Heart.
Sell has something going on now, and I think Sacred Heart's going to have to find a way to stop him.
Yeah, he's evened up the draws after going down early. They're now 3-3 apiece. St. Ignatius maintains possessions through X. Here's John Pollock, covered again by the short sticks. Looks like Sacred Heart Prep maybe going back to that double pole of the midfield. Coach, you want to talk to us a little bit about why a team might use this strategy of putting 2 long sticks up in the midfield rather than having only one?
Well, really, with the way offenses run today, simply, trying to attack the short sticks wherever they are. If you've got good athletic poles that can play down low or up top, you want to put them on the other team's best offensive players. Make them beat you with something else. And that looks like what they're doing here. They're going to try and take away that strong midfield of SI and make them beat them with their third attackman.
Boy, based on the results so far of this possession, I'd say that strategy is working. Larry Hart was able to handle John Pollock individually. One more, and then that short stick got collapsed to for a turnover.
It sure did, and there's Alex Bean with another good clear.
Boy, he is impressive so far today, Carlos.
Agreed. He is a physical presence out there in the midfield.
Hart passes the ball to Barnes. Barnes looks to set up against Kyle Edelman. And now the ball back in. John Carroll pushes it. No numbers here as Topher Bly is able to get back in, cover up the transition. And now John Carroll gets off. As this is Weisel. Weisel pushes the ball on the wing. Well, gets underneath for a second. Now bails back out.
He's already been on the field a lot at both ends today. It looks like they're intending on using him in all facets of the game.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect to see Sacred Heart Prep use more than 5 or 6 offensive midfielders today. I think they're going to have a relatively short bench. They'll try to get their guys on defense, rest their offensive middies there, but I'd expect to see a lot of the Barnes brothers, Weisel, Larry Hart, and that's kind of the list. We'll see who else they play up there, but that's who I expect to see playing most of the offense today. Ooh, a shot by Weisel off the pipe.
Well, that's why I was surprised out of that Sacred Heart timeout, or rather the SI timeout. Weisel was out there playing midfield defense and looking to transition the ball. The bench shot short. You usually don't see those middies out there playing defense, but it goes to show you how much Coach Rotelli trusts them.
That's a great point, Carlos. It may be that Coach Rotelli's also thinking, with Weisel out there, they could push the ball and get some early offensive goals in transition.
He's got a ton of speed.
Ooh, great play
nice
there.
Check.
That's going to be an over in the back call. New rule a couple of years ago, if the ball has...
SI has an advantage here if they're ready to push it.
And they do. Edelman can't handle the tough pass. Got a little handcuff there.
He did. And they turned that over. That was a transition opportunity for them. Even at SI, a great pull, left-handed, tight in the box. You got to put the ball right where he needs it, or he's going to have a hard time. And he came off the field pretty disgusted with himself that he couldn't make that play.
That's a tough pass to catch, though, Carlos. Anytime the ball gets inside of your body like that is hard to catch, but with a long pull, it just makes it infinitely harder.
It certainly is.
Here we go. Here's a good matchup for Sacred Heart Prep. Barnes covered by a short stick. Let's look to see if he can't keep this match up and maybe carry it to a favorable location. Both Barnes brothers covered by short sticks.
In that 1-4 look again.
Over to freshman Billy Barnes. Barnes attacks the wing, draws a quick slide, gets it back over to Tommy. Tommy to John Carroll. Now Tommy's going to attack the left wing. Early slide, bails out. Great little fake rollback, another shot off the pipe.
And a penalty.
We've got our first penalty of the game. What a beautiful move by Barnes. You see Barnes saw the slide coming, rolled out as if he was going to throw back up top. That made the slide go away, and then he re-attacked down the wing.
Oh, it was a terrific move. And, it looks like SI is going to try to put a shorty on those dangerous ball carriers and come early. But, once you go, you got to go. It was a great move by him to throw the slide off and then re-dodge and take that opportunity. Could have easily been a goal and the penalty here.
Let's see what Sacred Heart Prep does early in their man up. We've got a shutoff on Jack Crockett, Colin Niehaus, and now Niehaus back in the play. Looks like it's going to be a floating shot. Try to get Sacred Heart in and out of there. Now Tommy Barnes, a beautiful shot.
Off-stick bouncer.
No, that
didn't stand a chance.
I don't think he bounced it. I think that was just straight into that top corner. Let's check that out on instant replay. Vaught pushes the corner, forces the defender low, and then Barnes straight into the far
ripped
high
it into the corner.
Wow, what a shot.
My R's aren't what they used to be, Greg.
That's 2 assists now for Vaught, 2 goals for Barnes.
And that shutoff appeared to be short-lived. I don't know if they'll come out and try that again.
Well, it's a real risk-reward with a shutoff. You take away their hottest hand, but at the same time, you go down a man. Anytime you're playing a man down to begin with and the numbers keep getting lower, right? You'd rather play in a 2-on-1 as an offense than a 3-on-2 or a 5-on-4.
Well, I think it's a credit to these teams. There are a lot of teams at the high school level, especially out here in California, where they do have 1 or 2 guys that they count on.
What a crazy pass. That
certainly was.
Senior Henry Tunney, I'm not sure what he was thinking there. but that led to a turnover right away.
Push.
Oh,
no.
God, what an effort by Crockett to get inside, almost score the goal. And he got fouled in the process.
I may respectfully disagree with that call, Greg. Attackman goes to lean forward and lay himself out at that point. What are you going to do?
Well, you take a push, save the goal, risk going man up. That's what he did. Carlos, I'd understand and potentially concede that point if attackmen were still allowed to end up in the crease. If you're going to allow the attackman to dive and go in the crease, let him push him from behind. But otherwise, I think it makes it too tough of a judgment call for the ref, too.
I do, too. I just think, for me, it's one of the toughest plays for a defenseman when an attackman...
Oh, another goal! Weisel beats senior Matt Gates with the outside heat.
And they seem to have found a spot on that wing that they like against Gates.
That's a great point, Carlos. Both of their most recent goals have come from more or less the same spot. Be interesting to see if Coach Packard elects to take a timeout here. I know a lot of high school coaches have a rule that they don't want a team to go on more than a 2-goal run without taking a timeout.
Agreed. I think, on occasion that can be tough territory for Coach Packard. I think he's going to let him play here.
It looks like he's going to elect to do that. Part of that may be his faith in junior Lance Sell. He's done a good job turning it at the very least into a stalemate at the face-off X.
Agreed.
Tied out, that's coming out. Sacred Heart Prep's way. Dahlkemper comes through the clean ground ball, and we've got a timeout by Sacred Heart Prep.
That was a nice little run to start this quarter. Sacred Heart certainly had the better of it in these last 4 minutes.
Yeah, that great response. Go into the quarter down 3-2, come out within the first 5 minutes and flip it. 4-3 ball game.
And 2 penalties there against St. Ignatius, and as you mentioned, right, they like to play a physical brand of defense, and it's caught up to them a little bit in the early part of this second quarter.
That's right. We knew that would be a big storyline in this game. How many penalties would St. Ignatius end up taking? How many would Sacred Heart Prep end up taking? In their previous matchup, they both took a lot. St. Ignatius a few more. They're known for that physical brand of lacrosse. Can Sacred Heart Prep make them pay on the man up? They've been able to so far today. They were able to against Bellarmine. They were 1-for-1, and they stayed out of the box completely against Bellarmine. Not a single penalty, and clean on their penalties so far today. I think that could be a big difference.
They did, and quite honestly, that's 2 goals on 2 attempts today, and really not a lot of work to get them. They're not making them make 8 or 9 passes and a bunch of formation changes to get that goal. Both have been really wide open looks early in the man down.
That's a great point, Carlos. St. Ignatius seems to be just a little bit off on their man down unit. And I would say on their defensive unit in general. The last time I saw them play, they were really going quickly, recovering quickly, rotating well as a unit, playing well. Today it seems like they're just everything's a step slow.
I would agree with that. Although I think when you have a bunch of dangerous players on the field, that can be the case. As I mentioned earlier, it's easy when you know the 1 or 2 guys who can hurt you to be aggressive all over the field. When you've got 5 or even 6 guys on the field for Sacred Heart that can hurt you if you leave them open, it's hard to find a way to shade to the ball and cheat a little bit when everybody can make you pay for your mistakes.
Here we go. We'll restart now. Ball at about 10 yards behind the midline. Junior Tommy Barnes with the ball, double teamed here. Throws over the top to John Carter. John Carter's going to carry. Kyle Ademan looked to pick him up and then slipped. He throws the ball to a covered Teddy Vaught. This is the danger of taking a timeout where you did. You still have to clear the ball, Carlos.
I agree, and I didn't think that was... Oh, that's unfortunate. That's the second pretty easy 4-on-3 look that St. Ignatius has had in this quarter, and unable even to complete the first pass on both of those looks.
That's very unlike them.
Agreed. I was thinking back, and interestingly, this may be the first away playoff game that St. Ignatius has played since they joined this WCAL, going back 8 or 9 years. I think they're used to being pretty comfortable up there in the friendly confines at St. Ignatius, and I think this is a little bit different environment for them to be playing on championship day.
Well, speaking of the environment, we've got a packed house here today You can't see it as much on the telestrator or the screen because the camera is looking at the away sideline. But on this side, on the side of the bleachers, it is a packed house.
It is, and the student section here at Sacred Heart Prep is all on their feet. They haven't sat so far this game. They're supporting their classmates and teammates.
How much do you think the weather could be playing a factor here, Carlos? You talked about them being comfortable in San Francisco. San Francisco is probably 20 degrees cooler today. It's almost 80 and sunny here down on the peninsula in Atherton. Do you think that could be affecting the Wildcats at all?
I think certainly as the game wears on, they're not used to playing in this much heat, but they do travel quite a bit to Southern California and other places. So I think...
Wow, what a goal by Crockett. Crockett attacks from X. Left to right split. Beautiful move. Without looking, just flicks the ball back over his shoulder into the far high corner.
And really no help there again. There was a St. Ignatius long stick standing in the crease, who chose to, stay home rather than help that play out. And that's, I think, 3 on 3 shots for Sacred Heart Prep. So whatever magic the St. Ignatius goalie had in the first half, he's going to have to find that magic again.
And 2 pipes before that, Carlos.
That's correct.
Bean was able to win that one, but then lose it out of bounds off a great check. Here's Joseph Cilentano, carries the ball into the box.
SI could really use one here to try and keep this game close. I don't think they want to open up a 3 or 4 goal deficit to Sacred Heart Prep.
Interesting. We've got a couple new players in here for St. Ignatius. Attacking there, that's sophomore Joey Hagan.
There you go. Ref changed his mind. Got that one right. He was going to call it for SI at the beginning, and the Sacred Heart Prep player out-hustled the SI attackman. 4-on-3 opportunity here for Sacred Heart. Oh, and they shut it down out of the box. Good hustle by the substitutes for SI.
I didn't think that was a great opportunity for John Carter to really push that anyway.
Not with those players storming in from the back. You're
That's
right.
And he had an outlet right there in Larry Hart, right in the middle of the field. Just throw it to your short stick, make the easy play. Here's freshman Billy Barnes. Ball back up top to older brother Tommy Barnes. Barnes brothers covered by the short sticks again. And they're going to look to play a little pick and slip here on the wing. My bet is you'll see Barnes roll back and go back to that same play. Here's going to throw back to Barnes and set the pick again for the brother. Tommy inside, unassisted.
Wow. Same spot on the field, same look.
There are a couple things that shock me about this play, Carlos. Number one is the fact that you're covering the Barnes brothers with short sticks.
I have to imagine they have to come out of that.
Tommy Barnes has 3 goals and 1 assist so far. He's accounted for 66% of their offensive production. And you're covering him with a short stick.
And not bringing early help.
And that's the second part. No early help.
I'm not sure what the plan is there, but they may have to come up with something different. It doesn't look like that's going to work. And again, Barnes seemed to find that spot on the field, and that shot low and away that the SI goalie is having a hard time saving.
On that, we'll step away, take a break, and be right back. Welcome back to the WCAL final here from Atherton, California. We've had an exciting first half of lacrosse here so far. The second quarter has really been all Sacred Heart Prep, winning the quarter 4-0. Carlos, what are you seeing from the Gators that's allowed them to go on this run?
Well, I think they're taking advantage of what St. Ignatius is giving them, and perhaps surprisingly, what St. Ignatius is giving them is one of their 2 or 3 best options, alone on a wing against a short stick, which I don't want to question Coach Packard. He's got a lot of experience and a lot more wins than I have, but I'm not sure that, that's a low-risk matchup. I think you've got to find a way to take away what Sacred Heart Prep does best and see if somebody else can beat you. And right now, Tommy Barnes is beating them almost single-handedly.
Yeah, Tommy Barnes at this point in time is the story of the game for Sacred Heart Prep.
Absolutely.
Oh, here's Weisel. Unloads! Maybe throw Weisel into that mix. That's 2 from outside for the sophomore.
And I think, if memory serves me right, that's 4 or 5 in a row from the same 8-yard area on that wing, and all to the off-stick side of the goaltender from St. Ignatius.
Sure, the one that may not qualify for that would be Jack Crockett's dodge from behind, but kind of from the same area where he ended up.
Correct. So that was the exception, but they're certainly finding some room over there. I'm not sure if he's giving them that side of the cage or if that's something maybe that Coach Rotelli and his staff saw scouting, but it certainly seems like they have a plan on that wing and they're executing it to perfection.
Well, I tell you, Carlos, the energy on the sideline of Sacred Heart Prep is incredible. I don't know if you can pick up on that at home, but these guys take a lot of pride in that. They actually have a player they call the CMO, the Chief Mosh Pit Officer, and it's his job to make sure the energy is great over there. They really look at that as part of being a part of the team, right? You may not get that much playing time, but you can add value to the team by your energy on the sideline, and you can really see it.
Well, absolutely, and I'll tell you, with that kind of energy and that kind of excitement, there's a right way and a wrong way to do that, and occasionally you'll see teams using that energy to get after another team when they're down or do something like that. So it's clear that this team is celebrating each other and celebrating together, and it's a pretty great thing to see and certainly gets you fired up if you're a player on the field for Sacred Heart.
Yeah, it looks like we've got a zone here from St. Ignatius. I thought we might see a zone today from Sacred Heart Prep. Didn't expect to see it from St. Ignatius. But I think this is a good move by Coach Packer. Try to slow things down here. They had been really having unbelievable success. And great ground ball by Sonsini to maintain possession.
Absolutely, and a quick timeout.
At the very least, you made Coach Rotelli burn his second timeout.
You're right. Interesting thing about a lot of zones is the shot that they're willing to give up is that low wing shot that Sacred Heart has been so successful at. So
just make sure it's not Weisel or Barnes or I guess other Barnes or Crockett. I mean, who do you cover on this offense, Carlos?
Well, I have no idea, to tell you the truth. And as I started to mention earlier, that's what makes these teams so great. I think in high school lacrosse out here, as a defensive coordinator, defensive coach, it's easy to identify a couple of players on most teams that do the lion's share of the work. And if you can come up with a scheme that stops those 1 or 2 guys, you're usually going to have success. But against teams of this caliber, they've got too many guys who can do it. And you've really got to play a complete defensive game on the ball, off the ball, in the clearing game. You have to be playing at your best all over the field. You can't hide your weaknesses either, and it certainly seems like that's what they're doing.
Coming out of the timeout, it'll be interesting to see what Sacred Heart Prep elects to do. If St. Ignatius chooses to stay in the zone, which I expect they will, I would expect Sacred Heart Prep to come out into a 1-4-1. That's what they've played against most zones all season, and I don't expect them to do any differently today.
No, and that's certainly sort of the default position if you don't have a specific zone offense that you feel really comfortable in. Getting into a 1-4. Truthfully, the defense... Wow,
look at this, Carlos. We're going to come out with a double team on the ball, pulling goalie Matt Gates out, and Joe Sonsini's a speed demon. This could really come...
another pipe.
Wow. I was going to say, Sonsini might not be the guy you want to do that to. He's maybe the fastest guy on the field, definitely the quickest.
St. Ignatius dodged a bullet there, but they're known for that play out of a timeout.
That's 3 pipes in this quarter, Carlos.
It is. This game could easily have already have gotten away from them.
Here's Crockett from X, covered by Connor Reed. Throws it up top to Weisel. Weisel to Barnes. Barnes covered by Henry Tunney here. Gets a pick from Sonsini. Doesn't use it. Sonsini covered by Stevens is going to elect to throw the ball over to the wing. Here's another pick from Hart, and now Weisel's got a short stick matchup. Covered again now by Reeder. Reeder's a very impressive freshman, number 35 for St. Ignatius. May have as much upside as any player on the field today.
Agreed.
The fans are looking for a call here, but I didn't see one.
That's good defense.
Here's Weisel. As St. Ignatius is really coming out much more aggressively at the end of the second quarter. This is more the style of defense we were expecting to see from them.
Here we go.
Here's Hart from the wing, and another goal and a hit. That could have been a late hit, potentially. Let's see that again on instant replay. But Larry Hart stepped into a shot from the wing, stroked it, and let's see if Mark Stevens doesn't come through a little late on him. Here's Hart stepping in. Shots released. Yeah, I think St. Ignatius may have gotten away with one there.
I would take that every day. I think once again they found a spot on the field. I'm not sure that if I were SI, I wouldn't just stand a defender at 8-8 and threaten somebody to shoot from someplace else, because they've certainly found 5-6 goals now from that location after the St. Ignatius goaltender had everything saved in the first half.
Boy, if you're St.
quarter.
Ignatius, you have got to be praying for a possession here. One more goal from Sacred Heart Prep, and this thing could get out of hand early. I don't know about that shot by Bean. He's feeling it. A little bit of a heat check shot.
He was. Coach Cardente might have some words for him on the sideline.
Here's for Blythe, covered by Paul Barton. Paul Barton's another impressive freshman, along the same lines as Reeder. They actually play together on the same club team in the offseason. That's the Advanced 2021 team. A lot of these guys know each other. Very small community in Northern California in terms of the lacrosse community. All these
No
guys
doubt about
grow
it.
up playing together. Pollock with a question mark shot from the wing.
St. Ignatius.
More desperate than dangerous, I'd say, on that one, Carlos.
Certainly, and it seems like they're pressing to get opportunities. They've had the ball, I think, only 3 or 4 times in this quarter, and each time they've either taken a shot or turned the ball over in the first 10 or 15 seconds.
There's a save by Weeb to end the quarter. Wow, that would have been big for St. Ignatius. Get a little momentum back, put a little wind in your sails, but instead, Weeb's there to snuff it out.
That was as good of a quarter as they ever could have hoped for from Sacred Heart. Terrific play on offense. And we could go back and look at the tape. I'm guessing that St. Ignatius had the ball in that quarter for less than 45 seconds. They really didn't take advantage of opportunities when they had it and were, stuck in sustained defensive possessions that resulted in goals virtually every time.
A big part of that was Dahlkemper at the X. I mean, he went 3-0. Really opened up a nice lead. Then it was a wash. Since then, he's lost one face-off. It's now 8-4 in favor of Sacred Heart Prep. And it looks like I must have missed one based on the score and how many quarters.
Yeah,
maybe it's 9-4.
It could be. Those are the adjustments you got to make at the face-off X, and it goes to show you how important that aspect of the game is. You got to have the ball to have opportunities. When when Sacred Heart was winning them in the beginning, they scored a couple. SI came back with a few, and since Dahlkemper has started winning them all, their offense is firing on all cylinders.
Awesome. With that, we'll step away. We'll see you in a few minutes for the second half. Welcome back to Sacred Heart Prep. As we start the second half of play here, Carlos, what are your impressions from a St. Ignatius standpoint? What was the message from Coach Packard to his Wildcats down 5 at halftime?
Well, Coach Packard's a pretty fiery guy. I'll tell you what I think his message should have been, which is simply that 5 goals is not much of a lead in this sport. You come out here, you play hard, you put 1 or 2 on the board right away, and you're right back in it, maybe putting a little bit of pressure on Sacred Heart. They've got to come out and in the first 5 minutes play their best 5 minutes of lacrosse of this season if they want to get back in this game. So I'm hoping he's motivating them and pushing them, and they're going to come out with a little bit more energy than maybe they had in the first half.
It seemed a little flat in the first half.
They sure did. You know, we talked a little bit about the weather. I was just down on the field a second ago, and it is hot down there. By the way, as we talk about the crowd up here in the stands, what we can't see is that the sidelines of the field down by the track are lined with Sacred Heart families.
Oh, wow.
And they are certainly firing their team up. And I think St. Ignatius is going to have to look inside for something to push them to, as I said, come out a little bit stronger now than they did for the last 10 or 15 minutes of that first half.
I think a big question here is, can Lance Sell respond at the faceoff X? When Sacred Heart Prep went on, they were running in the second quarter, they were playing make it, take it. They score a goal, pick up a faceoff, come back down, and as a result, they played nothing but offense. To your point, at the end of the second quarter, it's 45 seconds, maybe a minute of offense for SI.
Well, he's going to have to come up with something different because Coach Packard's not going anywhere else but back to Sell. So he's going to have to battle this out. He's the guy that's going to have to do it for him.
There's Alex Bean picks up another big ground ball, loses control for a second, dodges through 3 guys, eventually losing it. Here's Sell pushing it back down in transition. Does he have anything? Oh, great effort.
Gracious.
What a sellout play by Larry Hart to get back in, force a turnover, and there's another Sacred Heart Prep possession.
Yep, and another turnover for SI in transition. Not like them at all.
Here's Weisel carrying over the midline, immediately double-teamed, turns his back in, flips it in. Larry Hart ends up with the ball. Boy, this is sloppy to begin with, Carlos.
It certainly is, and that has to be 10
seconds. Is Sacred Heart Prep going to get not in? Nope.
There we
Failure
go.
to advance.
SI, it looks like, is ramping up that ride a little bit more, which is what they need to do to get back to it. But they have got to control the ball in transition and generate some settled offense.
Boy, junior Mark Stevens looked more like a Division I running back than a Division I lacrosse player on that play, Carlos.
He did, and that attackman's hands were a little high there, but as I said earlier, I think they're going to let him play a little bit. That's the first one I've seen a little physical on the Sacred Heart Prep side, but they're calling it even.
Sophomore Holden Arnett Zhang to sophomore Bly. Here's brother Topher Bly. Early double team from John Carter, but Bly is elusive.
Great save.
Wow, what a play by Wiebe. Beautiful play by Bly to even get that shot off. Split what ended up becoming a triple team.
Certainly was. I don't know if they're going to get back into the game with one guy attacking the cage 1-on-3. Once again, a very, very short possession for St. Ignatius. They got that ball with 10:51.
Great look here. Very dangerous, and a goal for Barnes on the assist from Sonsini.
Wow.
Beautiful play by Joe Sonsini. Recognized the double team off of the pick. Barnes slips to the goal and is wide open.
It is all Sacred Heart right now, and I don't know that SI has been in this position before. Certainly not against an WCAL rival, and I'm not sure that they know quite what to do with it. They seem a little bit stunned.
Wow, that's 5 points now for Barnes. 4 goals, 1 assist. The Princeton commit has really played well today. A near perfect game. I don't think he's had a turnover. I think he's hit a pipe, maybe 1 save, but he's shooting in a ridiculous percentage.
Another one for Sacred Heart. Got to pick up the ball.
Got to use 2 hands on that ground ball. That's a win that just turned into a loss for no reason.
And a bad pass in transition. Sacred Heart heavy on the ride. They're going to earn this back.
Smart play by Barnes to just ride him off the ball, let that go out of bounds.
maintain
Absolutely.
possession. No need to go for it and risk knocking it out yourself.
This doesn't seem like the SI team we normally see. Something's got them going a little differently today.
Well, you got to think they came in confident. Yeah, right. Never lost a WCAL playoff game. Never played an away game at that. Here they are, uncharted territory. All of a sudden, they're down 5 coming into this quarter, now down 6. And you got to wonder if, can they respond?
They're going to have to find something different from an energy level. And if Sacred Heart has another sustained possession here, we could be 2/3 of the way through this game with very limited offensive opportunities for St. Ignatius.
And it looks like we're going to get it. I mean, so far the discretion on the part of Sacred Heart Prep has been great. Here's a shot by Barnes off the pipe.
That's what, 5 pipes today for them, Chris? This game could easily be completely out of control by now. Great check, great ground ball by SI. Let's see if they can generate something here.
Smart play by Tunney to pull it out. Heavy pressure by William Peterson right away. Interesting matchup there. You have 2 freshmen on defense right now down in the base. John Carter, freshman number 31, covering one of the Bly brothers, Wells, and freshman Paul Barton covering the other, Topher Bly. We talked about Barton a little bit on Wednesday, the son of former NFL legend Harris Barton, and unbelievable athlete. Really scary to think what he could become over the next couple years.
Absolutely. And Coach Rotelli obviously trusts them both to have them down there in this type of situation, really with the chance to put this game away with a couple of great sustained defensive efforts.
Here's a seemingly more intelligent offensive possession by St. Ignatius. They're taking their time, working to get a great look. Here's Stevens on the run. I'm not sure if I'd qualify that as a great look either, Carlos.
No, it wasn't.
If you're Coach Rotelli, you'll live with that shot.
Absolutely.
The Bly brothers behind the goal, playing a little 2-man game. Now Wells dodges up to the island, posts up, throws up top, and it's a turnover. Ground by Larry Hart. Trevor Williams tries a rusty gate check and ends up 15 yards behind the play. Hart carries into the box, looks across the field for Crockett, who's not open, throws to the box. This is Weisel. First time we've said his name this quarter. He had a huge second quarter with 2 big blasts from the outside.
He certainly did.
No more zone from St. Ignatius like we saw in the second quarter.
No, but they're still, well, we'll see. Barnes had a short stick for a second there.
Crockett against a short stick. That's a good matchup for Sacred Heart Prep. Throws it away, but Sonsini's going to be able to keep it in.
Oh, unlucky.
You see that speed again from Sonsini, though.
You sure do.
Junior defenseman Connor Flaherty will trigger it back in for the Wildcats. Throws behind to Reed. Reed over to Gates. Gates over to Gilfillan. Gilfillan carries up. He's going to challenge Teddy Vaught one-on-one. Vaught does a nice job playing good defense, stymies him, and now the clear to Stevens. Stevens covered by Bean, touches the ball into the box in the top corner. Over to Bly. Here's that matchup again. Bly on Barton. This is where Bly scored his first goal from, but elects to throw through X to Pollock. Pollock covered by the short stick again. That clearly seems to be part of Sacred Heart Prep's plan today, Carlos.
It certainly does, and it's been effective. They get that good slide. That's the slide.
Beautiful double team.
That's the slide that SI has needed to get to that shorty-on-shorty matchup and hasn't been able to get it there all day. That's a terrific slide. SI's got to move the ball out of those double teams.
Well, Sacred Heart Prep's defense continues to play well. Has not given up a goal here for now a quarter and a half. Whatever the adjustment that the Gators made, which looks to be double polling and covering Pollock with a short stick.
That was an exciting one. You don't get that very often. Shot from the midfield by SI, and they can't even bank on that one.
Shot backed up by the Gators.
Ball right back to Sacred Heart.
Here's freshman Billy Barnes, going to clear it himself. Picked up by senior Tunney, gets by Tunney. Throws back out, still hasn't gotten a touch. Senior Jack Crockett looks to do that and is successful. Still covered by Tunney, back up top to Barnes. Barnes is going to slow things up, get a possession.
Still matching up again with a short stick. They must see something there that they believe in.
Look at Gilfillan, though, how far he's hedging out now. They're started. They're going to come early to Barnes now.
They are.
Barnes seems content to just play a little two-man game behind, and St. Ignatius got caught chasing behind with an extra defender. They really caught a break there.
Little push there. SI, that's a break for SI.
That is a Brad. Really. Wow, okay, that ends up being a loose ball push on Sacred Heart Prep. The ref initially pointed the other direction, which was surprising, given that they blew it.
He did. They got it right in the end, though. St. Ignatius has got to find some better looks. Those looks that they were getting in the first quarter have all but disappeared, and another tough pass in the clearing game.
And
I don't
Williams
understand.
Unable to pick it up. This one squirts forwards. Looks like Barton's going to run out with it. Unable to. Vaught picks it up. Pushes the ball into the box. And wisely settles it up out into the corner. Covered by Flaherty. Back up top. This is Larry Hart. Larry Hart covered by Trevor Williams. As Paul Barton subs, we're going to get Barnes back onto the field. Carlos, with 4:30 left, we've only had one goal in this quarter. It's been kind of sloppy. What are your thoughts?
I think it's been sloppy from both sides. I think St. Ignatius has done.
Hart inside a little bit. Great redodge by Hart. You can't let him roll back in that scenario.
No, you cannot let him roll back, and these are too easy, you know. If you want to play quality defense at this level, you cannot let the initial dodger score the ball.
No help there either again.
No.
He turned the corner, walked right over the top. I mean, that's asking a lot of your short stick defenders and your goalie, right?
It's asking a
Go
lot
out
of
on
your
an
goalie.
island, stop this guy, and do it without any help.
No, it's unbelievable. It feels like, you know, and I want to be, you know, give credit to a great team that made it away here, but it just doesn't feel like they're playing like a team today. Defenders are finding themselves out on an island. Offensive players are attacking double teams and taking shots from difficult spots. It just doesn't feel like they're playing together.
Here's Pollock, covered by the face-off guy, Dalkemper. Dalkemper looks to get off the field in transition. St. Ignatius is going to have an extra man here for a second. No, they're not, as Niehaus doesn't realize it, unable to take advantage of the 6-on-5. Niehaus now dodges on Carroll. Beautiful right-to-left split.
Great move, great save.
Wow, he was really able to shake Carroll and get his hands free for a look. Pollock, low angle. Weeb did a nice job of holding that pipe. Not much for Pollock to shoot at. He ends up sending about a foot wide. He needs to get another step or two upfield before he shoots that, Carlos.
I agree. Quite frankly, though, I think they need to keep attacking that matchup. If you're going to put a shorty down on an attackman, you've got to make him pay for it. Great save.
You know, Carlos, I got to say I respectfully disagree. Pollock looks like he's been unable to do anything in that matchup all day. I mean, they haven't had to slide to him much. When they have gone, it's been on sort of what I'd call a selective double team. It's not really like a slide out of a position of danger. It doesn't seem like much good is coming from that matchup for St. Ignatius. I'm probably put him back on the crease.
I might, but again, you know, I don't think you're finding.
Two
pipes.
Boy, if you count both of those, I think that's 7 pipes for
I think it might be
Sacred
more.
Heart.
I do agree with you. It's not a great option, but at this point, it seems like the only guy that's even generating offense or generating a slide at this point is that player from that spot.
Wow, Edelman with a beautiful cross-crease skip pass to Bly, who's able to handle it but not able to finish. Barton did a great job collapsing to him, and here's another quick double team between the two freshmen, and they're able to put the ball on the ground. Quick outlet over to Alex Bean, and Bean is going to push it in transition here. We have numbers back for St. Ignatius.
We sure do, and as you said,
look at his,
that's a questionable
non-trip call there.
Alex Bean tripping over a blade of turf.
And a goal for St. Ignatius. Boy, that's got to frustrate Coach Rotelli. A totally missed call that results in a goal.
It certainly does, but he's uncharacteristically calm about it at this point in the game.
Maybe it's the
Up by
6-goal
6.
lead.
Coach Rotilli is every bit as enthusiastic on that sideline as his bench is.
He's a real high-energy guy.
No doubt about it.
And here we go. We got that double pole look again on the faceoff for Sacred Heart Prep. This time it's Bean and Peterson. They've been doing that for most of the game now, certainly the second and third quarters, and it's been super effective.
Sal's got to come up with something clean here to give them a chance to get back into it. One more goal here, and they would be...
This looks like it should come out Bean's way. And we got some extracurriculars behind the play.
Oh, wow.
How is that not a penalty? I'm all for letting them play, but this isn't the WWF. Let's see that again on instant replay. Yeah, 15 yards behind the play, takes him down. I know even a goon like you can appreciate that's a penalty, Carlos.
Well, I'll tell you. I mean, I can make an argument for the SI player if you'd like me to.
I would. I'd love to hear that argument.
It didn't look like he took a run at him. It looks like they were standing chest to chest. There may have been some funny business going on inside by the Sacred Heart player, and I think the SI player just tried to take it in his own hands. There's the argument. I made it.
I tell you, that Sanford law degree is worth something.
No, they've got to call that. I think that's got to be the last one of that. You don't want to encourage a team to get out and be more and more aggressive, and every time you let something like that go, that's exactly what you do. So the other thing about something like that is SI's got to understand that they're not going to get a benefit of the doubt on the next one, so they better play this possession clean, or you could see a makeup flag coming here.
Looks like Sacred Heart Prep is going to be satisfied to play this thing out.
For sure, and why wouldn't they?
Yeah. You trade one goal a quarter from here, you win by 6. Weisel intelligently elects on. There's a keep it in. We didn't see that at all against Bellarmine. I can't say I disagree with it, though. They hadn't played much offense up until this point.
No, and that Bellarmine game is a case where Bellarmine's offense is so slow anyway that it doesn't seem like much of a difference in pace.
Wow, what a save by Weed.
Save.
There's the sort of clean transition we expect to see from St. Ignatius that results in a great one-on-one on the doorstep, and Weeb is up to the challenge, snuffing it out.
He is certainly the St. Ignatius goaltender, was showing his stuff in the first quarter, but
there's another save.
Weeb has certainly been impressive throughout these last 2 quarters. He is spectacular. And really, perhaps after Weisel and Barnes, the third story of the day for Sacred Heart.
With that, we'll take a break. We're back live now for the start of the fourth quarter. 10-4 ball game in favor of the Gators of Sacred Heart Prep.
And quite frankly, this quarter's got to be all SI or they don't stand a chance.
That's a good start for the Wildcats.
It is. They've got to be smart decisions. You almost have to play mistake-free at this point, down by 6 going into the fourth quarter.
And I think you got to take a few chances, too.
You certainly do.
Right? You got to push the ball hard in transition. You've got to extend pressure out on your defense. It's kind of what they do naturally, but they just need to turn it up to another level.
It is, and they, it's a little bit trite, but they've got to play every minute like it was their last. They can't afford to give up a 50-50 ground ball. They can't afford to give up a face-off. Anything that's halfway has got to be theirs. Way to eat it by the Sacred Heart defenseman.
Yeah, that one hurts a whole lot less in this game.
It certainly does. Bean will have the war wound to prove it. Ooh.
Sacred Heart may have gotten away with one there. Nope, the laundry is on the ground. It's going to be a push from behind on John Carroll.
SI has got to have a goal on this one.
That's another area they could get back into the game, Carlos.
Absolutely.
Couple penalties, really shift the momentum.
Push from behind on Sacred Heart. SI will be man up.
The first chance to see the SI man up unit. Looks like they're going to start out in a 3-3. Really surprised to see face-off guy Joey Dalkemper out there. As important as the face-offs have been in this game, to be using his energy on man down is surprising. A little hidden ball trick. Stays with it to Bly. You can see that play was designed to go low.
Oh.
Wow, way to run it out by Weeb.
The SI attackmen have got to know that play. I'm sure they've run it 100 times. Somebody's got to get back there and back it up. There's nothing more frustrating.
Well, I think that was the second or third look on that play. I think the initial look was for inside for Stevens. Gates up to Edelman. Half-field pass. Edelman pushes into the box. No numbers here in transition for the Wildcats. Bly covered by Bean. Bean does a great job sending him back underneath. Pollock covered by Barton. Low angle, elects to throw back up to Bly. Bly over the top to St. Jem. St. Jem to Topher Bly, and he's going to attack Barton. Takes a shot, pretty well covered by Barton, and a nice save by Weeb.
He is eating them up all over the field. They're trying low, they're trying high. He's just not giving them any part of the goal to see. That's a ward.
That is a ward. That's 2 wards. Right in front of the ref, too. Great lift by Barton.
Certainly was. Another off-cage shot from a low angle, well defended.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Sacred Heart Prep, you are totally content to keep playing defense against those shots.
Absolutely, and this is a big stand here. They've killed that penalty. If they can finish this off without giving up a goal here, it's the first big step towards closing the door on SI today.
Pass down, pick down for Bly coming over the top. Double teamed by Bean and Peterson. Forced the ball out of his stick to St. Jem's, able to control the ground ball. Back to Wells Bly. Bly attacks John Carter from behind. John Carter playing great defense, but Bly's able to get it over the top to brother Topher, who misses just wide.
Yeah, this is tough. SI now playing offense here for almost a minute and 10 seconds. Has to get a goal out of this possession.
Oh, and that looks like that's off the pipe. Oh, that's going to be a push on Sacred Heart Prep.
It is a push, but it doesn't hurt him at all.
No, and in some ways, given the scenario, I'd actually opt for that play.
As would I.
Kill the play, let your defense get back in, get settled up.
And maybe let that attackman eat a little bit of turf.
That's right.
Now you're starting to think like a defender, Greg.
And that was Weisel on the play there, taking the push.
It was, again, finding himself on defense.
Yeah,
a great save.
Unbelievable save by Weeb again. Weisel down early. There it is again. 2 unbelievable saves by Weeb.
Certainly.
Quick outlet to Weisel. Weisel's going to look up the field to Bean. No numbers here. They're going to look to settle things up. get a touch.
And I'll tell you, Bean has found himself in the clearing game all day long. They count on him to carry the ball up the field. Not a lot of teams will allow their long stick midfielders to spend that much time in the clear. It goes to show you how much Coach Rotelli trusts him, and he's done a great job.
Well, yeah, and we've seen the stick a couple times today.
Absolutely. He's had a great game in the middle of the field. And, truthfully, we've talked about Barnes, we've talked about Weisel, we've talked about the goaltender. But to have a team as good as SI and to have your defense hold them to 4 goals really says something about the quality not only of your individual defense but of your team defense. And to have 2 or 3 freshmen or sophomores out there making this kind of effort against a team of this caliber is really something to hang your hat on, for a couple of years going forward.
Carlos, there's times you look out there and there are as few as 1 or even 0 seniors on the field at times for the Gators, including several freshmen. The junior goalie, Cody Weeb, junior William Peterson, freshman John Carter, freshman Paul Barton. A lot of times you'll see freshman Billy Barnes out there, sophomore Alex Bean. This team is really young to be in this position in this championship game with so much youth. WCAL opponents have got to be scared about the future.
No doubt about it. Its future certainly looks bright here for SI. And for whichever college program lands some of these young boys.
That's right. We'll take a quick break and be right back with about 8 minutes to play. Welcome back to Sacred Heart Prep. With 8 minutes to go, the Gators lead the Wildcats of St. Ignatius by 10-4.
At long last, they've got a pull on Barnes.
Here's freshman Duke Reeder covering junior Joe Sonsini.
It's really hard to do this.
Here comes the early double team again. These are the sort of risks we were talking about taking, and boy, that's the risk-reward relationship. You just got burned taking that risk, but those are the sort of risks they've got to take at this point.
Absolutely. I was just about to say SI is going to have to start taking some chances, but I was also about to say it is really hard on a defense to do that with 8 minutes left on the clock to sustain that kind of pressure. They're asking him to do a really difficult thing, especially against some tremendous athletes at Sacred Heart Prep. That is a pretty easy way for Barnes to find another.
Yeah, that is 5th. 5 goals, 1 assist. Barnes stays above the pace of producing over half of his team's points for the game. See if Dalkemper can control this one. If he wins this face-off and they're able to get a sustained possession, you got to think this thing is pretty well sewn up for the Gators.
No doubt about it.
But that doesn't happen. That's a face-off win for the Wildcats. They're going to get a chance.
They are.
Here's Pollock again, covered by short stick Larry Hart. When you do something like that, you have a senior captain covered by a short stick, you're taking a big risk. And it says a lot about the faith that Coach Rotelli has in Larry Hart, that he's willing to do that. And boys, he delivered today, right? This
no doubt about it
doesn't work if Hart can't do that well.
No, I agree. I think the SI offense is a little stationary. Seems like one guy's attacking. We've got a tiny bit of movement in the crease and some guys standing still. It doesn't seem like there's a ton of urgency here.
And that 2-man game got him hung up for a second.
It did, but he's got to put his shoulder down, take a check, and finish that goal.
Good show there by freshman John Carter. And again, Hart doing a great job on that matchup, and time just continues to burn off the clock. These sort of possessions are what St. Ignatius needed in the first quarter, not the fourth quarter.
And threw the ball away there, trying to make an unnecessary skip pass to a covered midfielder.
Now let's see if Sacred Heart Prep can eat it, Let this clock bleed.
A good sustained possession here, and this game's over. St. Ignatius has been known in the past for a 10-man ride, but they're not coming out into it today. You'd think if there was a time for it, it might be that situation, but apparently they have enough respect for the Sacred Heart Prep clearing game to not run that 10-man.
Well, I think he's smart. With a goalie like Weeb, one of the things we haven't actually seen a lot of today, but Weeb is special in the clearing game. He's like a good quarterback who can throw into a really tight window. And that's been true all year. There's Weisel again.
Wow.
Finishing for his hat trick, his third of the day, unassisted.
That's a terrific effort. Not a great double team, especially a double team that looked like it was pre-planned. If you're going to double that ball as the defender on the player setting the pick, you have got to step out and get in front of that ball carrier. You cannot allow him to get topside if you're going to double the ball.
Now, I think this begs the question, Carlos, of what is going on at the CIF level that we cannot have a meeting of two of the best teams in Northern California this year. My bet is San Ramon Valley holds on and wins an NCS championship. They beat SI earlier this season 12-1. If this holds to form, wouldn't you want to see a matchup between those two teams, San Ramon Valley and Sacred Heart Prep Gators?
Without question, I think they're two incredibly exciting teams with a ton of future college talent. I'd love to see it. And quite honestly, lacrosse fans in Northern California deserve a chance to see a game like that. Get some young players out, get some, future players in these programs a chance to see what great lacrosse looks like under the lights in a huge Northern California championship game.
Unfortunately, we're going to have to wait another year to see that.
Unfortunately, we will.
Here's John Carroll trying out the short stick matchup against Pollock. Get it over to the other side. Here's Trevor Williams. Physical dodger. Throws through to X. Pollock covered again by the short stick. Here he is posting up on the wing. He's able to score one.
I think his teammates will forgive him for letting that one go based upon the way he's played today.
Agreed, especially considering how much of that ball he got.
Absolutely.
I mean, that thing barely dropped in across the line.
And he's not happy with his effort. He's looking at the crowd and pointing to his chest like, yeah, that was my bad, but he's played a terrific game today.
He's given up 2 goals in the final 3 quarters so far.
It's going to be tough to find an MVP today. I think there are 3 or 4 great candidates. Everybody that needed to show up today for Sacred Heart has shown up.
I think one guy two guys I'd throw on that list who may not get that sort of attention on the defensive side of the ball, as we've talked about, to have only given up 5 goals up until this point. It really says something about your defense. We've talked a lot about Weeb. We've talked a lot about Bean. Bean's been special today. But freshmen Paul Barton and John Carter have really answered the bell.
Without question. As I said, if it's me, and I may be biased, but if, I'm giving an MVP, here today, if you hold St. Ignatius to 5 goals in a championship game, your defense is the MVP.
Here's Weisel from behind. Weisel throws up to Sonsini. Sonsini with a great handle. And here's Crockett. It looks like Sacred Heart Prep is going to be very patient here. I wouldn't be surprised to see a stall warning come on pretty quickly based on what we saw in the third quarter.
Well, and frankly, it doesn't seem like SI has the appetite to go out and press this either. We'll see if once the stall warning goes on, they're willing to attack the ball.
Carlos, you aren't supposed to put a stall warning on if they're not engaging you defensively.
Exactly.
And so that may be why we haven't seen this yet. Now that they're coming out and playing them, engaging them, now we're going to see it. And boy, they put it on quickly.
You called it. But they've got shorty on shorty in the back of at the back of the goal, which is where you want to have it. So we'll see.
They're flushing the goalie out. They're going to.
But we're not getting a double from number 21 on SI. He's got to stay with that double team. It looks like he's exhausted.
He does. Yeah. And Crockett steps out of the box with 3:30 remaining. A 7-goal lead for the Gators.
I'm doing something that I've criticized parents and fans forever for doing, which is yelling at a tired player who's in the fourth quarter of a long game to get out there and double the ball with maximum effort. And I always find it frustrating as a player, but here I am doing it.
Wow, what a pass
while
there
I'm
by
commentating
Tunney.
this game.
Weisel's able to come up with it. You know, Weisel has really lived up to his bloodlines today. His cousin Wiley Osborne, one of the best players to ever play in Northern California, played at Sacred Heart Prep's rival Menlo School and then had a wildly successful career at Dartmouth.
I did not realize they were cousins. That makes sense. Their games are not entirely dissimilar.
What's that? They're both really good?
Yeah.
On that note, we'll take a break and be back for the final 3 minutes of today's game.
This could get ugly right here.
Nothing there?
Nothing.
Official timeout.
They're going to restart this. Carlos, I got to be honest, I have no idea what just happened.
I think they weren't ready on the clock.
Got it.
We've got to do a little bit better job at SI, though. They're just going to let them clear it. I don't know what the purpose of that was.
Hey, they had Attackman there to double him, and again, it just doesn't seem like SI has been willing to put in or had the requisite energy to be successful today. You know, they had guys there, they just didn't even bother to make the play. Or even
Well, you wonder how much of the Menlo game took a toll on them. I didn't see that game. I don't think you did either, but you wonder if that game took a toll on them.
I can't imagine it exacted any more of a toll than the Bellarmine game would have on Sacred Heart Prep.
No, I don't want to make excuses for them. The Bellarmine game, I think, was a little bit slower paced, maybe, but SI just they didn't get off the bus. Well, I shouldn't say that. They played well in the first quarter.
That's right. They came out, gave up one early, and then it was a 3-1 game, 3-2 game at the end of the first quarter, and now all of a sudden it's 12-5. Well, really, the difference, second quarter.
I was about to say it was a Golden State Warriors-like effort on the part of Sacred Heart. They really have played a very tight game, albeit Sacred Heart, settled the ball down a little bit here in the fourth, but they played a really tight game for 3 quarters, and Sacred Heart just blew the doors off of them in the second quarter, and it was something that SI couldn't overcome.
Momentum can be a killer, especially in a lacrosse game, almost more than any other sport. You talked about the Warriors, obviously a lot of similarities between basketball and lacrosse. But the one thing that I think really differentiates lacrosse, apart from anything else, is your ability to go get the ball and play with it after you've scored.
Agreed.
If you think about it in basketball, if you could score and go play, it's like playing 3-on-3 hoops.
Yep, make it, take it.
What a difference that ends up being in a game like this. I think Dalkemper's got to go, into that pool of candidates for the MVP.
Yeah.
I thought, the face-offs and the amount of possession Sacred Heart had relative to St. Ignatius, in particular in the second quarter, that was a huge difference.
I agree. And I will say, just like I'd like to, you like to give credit to an entire defense because defenses played together, I think that entire face-off unit with Bean and and the other pole whose name escapes me.
Paul Barton or William Peterson, whoever they had out on the wing with him.
That unit wins those face-offs together. So if you're Coach Rotelli right now, what's going through your head? You've got 2 minutes left in this game, a comfortable lead, and now a flag down.
I'm thinking, chicken fingers or cheeseburgers at the Dutch Goose. I mean, and keep it clean, keep it classy, right? Don't allow, you can expect that they're going to come out and try to be physical, maybe take some swings to try to turn the ball over. You can expect you're going to get whacked. You're going to take some hits, and how you respond to that. And, there you go. You see it, another one, rather. Number 3 gives Teddy Vaught a little bit of extra business after the play. Keep your composure, walk away, stay classy, and win on the scoreboard. You don't need this thing to get ugly. That's what I'm worried. That's the only thing I'm worried about at this point. I mean, a 7-goal lead with a minute 45 left.
Agreed.
Pretty safe.
Agreed. And this is, a real opportunity, I think. If I were Coach Rotelli, right, you got to think about all the hard work that gets you here. No team ends up in this position, poised to win this championship. It doesn't happen without early mornings and hard afternoons in the weight room. Hours and hours spent by these players outside of practice, making themselves better. Hours and hours spent by Coach Rotelli and his staff out of practice, preparing his team to win.
Well, I think along those lines, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention assistant coaches John Cardente and Mo Ryan. Those guys put in tireless hours. Coach Cardente actually comes down from a job in San Francisco every day to participate at practice. And Coach Mo, I've seen him in there on the computer watching countless hours of film. He takes care of all their scouting reports and putting together game plans in conjunction with Coach Rotelli. And, it's a team effort on the field. It's a team effort on the sideline, too. And I think those guys deserve a lot of credit. Cardente and Ryan are really the ones who drive the defense, which allows Rotelli to focus on the offense.
Without a question. I think that you can see the Sacred Heart sideline finally willing to celebrate a little bit prematurely. If I'm Coach Rotelli, I'm looking over both shoulders for that Gatorade. I don't want to see it coming my way, but it certainly should be.
I think it's just a matter of time at this point. Unless maybe Coach Rotelli told him.
These are pretty classy kids. I don't know if they would dare defy Coach Rotelli when it comes to the Gatorade bath. But I will tell you, they most certainly should defy him on this occasion.
Yeah, I'm feeling these guys are used to winning, Carlos. This is going to be their 4th league championship in a row. The previous 3 were in the PAL. This is a slightly more serious crown, but they're used to winning.
Crowd is going crazy. Great job. Congratulations to Coach Rotelli, all his players, and his staff.
Thank you for joining us for what was a spectacular final game for the Sacred Heart Prep Gators, who were able to overwhelm their opponents, the St. Ignatius Wildcats, for a final score of 12-5.
Thank you for having me, Greg. It was a great day.
Sacred Heart women will be taking on the Menlo Knights women at 7 o'clock tomorrow night at Palo Alto High School for the WCAL Championship. Please join us.
What's up, Alice? Back row.
Alex put out and awesome. Wow.
You know, I'd love to. I'm actually going to do a little free-ride thing.
Where's Carlos coach? Besides the rest?
He helps out a bit. He was the head coach there for a while. He coached at Bellarmine for a while.
I can't wait. I answered at least 3 times tonight.
I heard you were like twice.
So exciting. You know, you throw sticks in the air either, like those dropped them. Dropped them.
I saw a couple of there.
All right.
Are they going to come over and
Yeah.
there?
They're gonna do. They got the. I don't know them, but I love them. Come on, guys. Let's get over here. Congratulations to both teams on a fine season. The WCAL commissioner is here today, Jolene Padak, to give out tournament plaques and tournament and championship medals. Shall we do names? For Sacred Heart, number 1, Ali Torres. Number 2, Larry Hart. Number 3, Patrick Haggerty. Number 4, Billy Barnes. Number 5, Joe Santini. Number 6, Teddy Lott. Number 7, Tommy Barnes. Number 8, Will Peterson. Number 9, Jack Crockett. Number 10, Luke Hammerschul. Number 11, Alex Dean. Number 12, Wilson Weisel. Number 13, Peyton Moses. Number 14, Nick Schlatter. Number 15, Patrick Dwayne. Number 16, Joey Dahlcamper. Number 17, Will Walkhorse. Number 18, Paul Barton. Number 19, Brian Tinsley. Number 20, Beck Anderson. Number 22, Gus Torrey. Number 23, Cody Weed. Number 24, Cal Williams. Number 25, Brad Yaffe. Number 26, Jack Brigger. Number 28, Johnny Carroll. Number 29, Henry Mallon. Number 30, Will Darlinghouse. Number 31, John Carter. Number 32, Ben Ramsey. Number 33, Brian DeBello. Number 34, Ryan McJanet. And number 35, Brady Tawil. Your head coach, Chris Rottelli. Assistant coach, John Ardente. And assistant coach, Mo Ryan. We'd like the captains from Sacred Heart to come forward. Tommy Orange, get out there. Sacred Heart receiving the regular season and tournament championship flags. Your captains for Sacred Heart, number 9, Jack Crockett, the senior. Number 6, the senior Teddy Vaught. Johnny Carroll, the senior. Cody Weed, and Tommy Barnes. Thank you, fans, for your support all season long for lacrosse in general and for Sacred Heart Prep. Please join us for the women's game tomorrow night at 7 p.m. at Palo Alto High School.